Right, so it says these are the laws you should. Next week's Torah portion is really an extension. Now we're learning the Dvar Malchut. Dvar Malchut, royal words of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and we have learned up to the 11th paragraph, chapter 11, Yud Aleph. And up to now, we have been learning how the Torah, the Ten Commandments is enumerated twice in the Torah. Once in this week's Torah portion, when God gave it, saying the words of God, and then the book of Deuteronomy, when Moses gave the Torah. Now, just to make it clear, the whole book of Deuteronomy is only Moses speaking. It is not God speaking. It's only Moses speaking. But it's it's just as much a part of the 5 books of Moses, right? Why? Because everyone knew that what Moses was saying was God speaking through his mouth. God was speaking through the mouth of Moses. So it wasn't really Moses speaking. It was God speaking. Everyone knew it. It wasn't necessary to tell them these are the words of God. Everyone knew. So like, for instance, the motto of Judaism is a sentence in Deuteronomy. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Listen, Jews, God is our God, God is one, and you should love God with all of your heart. And then it continues. And if you do what I say, and you learn the Torah, and you do the commandments, then I will give the rains in their time. I will benefit you. I will. Who is this I? Moses. When Moses is saying he's going to give you the rains in their time, everyone knew it was God speaking. But nevertheless, we still have the question, why did God have to do it that way? Well, especially the 10 Commandments. Why does God have to repeat the 10 Commandments? It's written in the Torah. We can see in this week's Torah portion, it's written, why did Moses have to repeat it? Everybody knew it. He said the reason is because the 10 Commandments have 2 functions. One function is what we read about in this week's Torah portion, pure godliness coming to the world, pure godliness. The stress is on God, the creator, the reason for creation. Pure God, that's what the Torah is. The Torah is God's word, and the creation is also God's word. So there's 2 types of words also, but the words that God used to create the world, that's only external. And the Torah, that's internal. That's the reason why God's creating the world. So to speak, the world is the composition, and the Torah is the author. He's the author of it. The whole world is just this beautiful creation of God, but the creator himself, that's the Torah. That's why God is creating it. Hard to believe, but that's it. That's the whole thing. Like we say, God took the Jews out of Egypt, this whole story, just to give them these simple commandments. Don't kill, don't steal. But even if God just said, that would have been enough. God himself spoke. Everyone heard it. Right? So God showed us how important this world is in every detail, because all the details of the Torah, that's the essence of God. Good. So that's one aspect of the Torah, is God. The other aspect of the Torah is how Moses was saying it, is the world. So God wants to bring his essence into this world. That's what God wants. That's why there had to be 2 stories about giving the Torah. One is talking about the Torah as it is in its pristine, pure godliness, and the other is the Torah, how you use it to work with in the world. It says that's another, next week's Torah portion also, it says these are the laws that you should put before them, that all the laws, all the little details of these laws of damages and monetary laws and things like that, that they're all exactly from God, and they're very important to God, and not even more, you should elucidate them and put them in front of the Jewish people in a way they can understand, in a way in which they can use it. And it says, and even more, shetasim b'fneim, that you should put before them. The word tasim also comes from the word of a precious treasure, sima. That if you do so, you'll see the tremendous treasure there is in these seemingly mundane laws of the Torah. That it's pure godliness, and then you'll start to see the treasure which there is in every detail of the world, especially every human being being created by the essence of God. Okay, according to what we said before, And if you remember, the Rebbe was talking about the number 11. He's talked with great detail, the number 11. There's the 10 commandments, and then there's the number 11. That's God saying the 10 commandments. That's the Anochi. Also, there's the 10 utterances that God created the world with, but then there's the 11. That's God who's creating the world. Don't separate the world from God. The 10 sfirot and etc. So that's the number 11. So said the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that's especially connected to the 10th day of the month of Shvat. Shvat is the 11th month. 11. That hints at the godliness which is found in the world in the Torah. 11. And especially the 11th day of the 11th month. That's when the Rebbe took over the leadership of Chabad. Was on the 11th day of Shvat, which is the 11th month. And it happened to be also in Tov Shin Yud Aleph when he did it, which is 5,711 years after the creation of the world. 11. Previous Rebbe passed away 5,710 years after the creation of the world. Tov Shin Yud Aleph. The Rebbe's wife, now, the Lubavitcher Rebbe he's the Moshiach, right? All the Rebbes of Chabad are the Moshiach. The main idea of Moshiach is to educate all of the Jewish people, to learn Torah, or at least to try. Anyone who tries to do it he's a candidate for Mashiach. You can consider this person to be Mashiach. So that's what the previous Rebbe did. And the Rebbe, he was his successor. Now the Rebbe, he's the successor, especially by virtue of the fact that he married the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's daughter. He married the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's daughter. Now, it's not necessary for the Lubavitcher Rebbe to be in the family. It's not a necessary thing, as far as I know, even though it always was that way. They were always in the family. The first Rebbe of Chabad, his son was the Rebbe, and then his grandson was Rebbe, the son of his daughter, and etc. They were all sons and daughters. Our Rebbe is the only one who's not a direct son. He is the son-in-law of the previous Rebbe. But that brought him, so to speak, into the family. The fact is that the Rebbe had the qualifications necessary, and nobody else did. The qualifications necessary to teach Torah to all of the Jewish people, or at least to encourage all the Jewish people to learn the Torah. He had the qualifications. There was no one else in the world that had these qualifications, but he did. But still, the fact is that what brought him, so to speak, into the family, even though the fact is he already was in the family of Schneerson is directly connected to the Mashiach. It's directly connected to the Maharal of Prague. And the Maharal of Prague was directly connected to King David. They have a family tree, King David. And so you have to be in the royal family in order to be Mashiach. It has to be a direct relative of David and King David through King Solomon. And all the Rebbes of Chabad did have the quality. There's other people that also do, but nevertheless, the Rebbe came into the family by marrying the previous Rebbe's daughter. The previous Rebbe's daughter passed away on the 22nd day, which is 2 times 11, the 22nd day of Shvat. Now, all these things that we're talking about, these are not, criteria for Mashiach. They're just signs, interesting indications. But the indications are very powerful ones. And the idea behind them is this is take us out of our normal day-to-day assumptions about life. Excuse me. That this is the way things are, and this is the way things will remain. Maybe some will come with a new invention, how to cure this disease or that disease, or a new type of energy, so we won't need electricity, or a new type of way of feeding the masses. But generally speaking, the world is going to be the way it is. Man is the way it's going to be. And the whole purpose of Mashiach is to tell us that we don't know what man is now. We don't know what man is. Mashiach will reveal the true soul power of every single human being in the world. to appreciate the creator of the universe and to be in tune with what the creator wants, to be a working model of the creator in this world. That's the idea of the future redemption. So, and it can only be done by means of Mashiach. There has to be a person that's going to do this, just like there had to be a person that took the Jews out of Egypt. Okay, so we're saying that person was the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe is saying that he's just an extension of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay, so we have all these signs which are pointing to something, not just pointing to who the Rebbe is and the Rebbe is, they're pointing to what God is. The pointing to the revelation of the creator in the world so that human beings can really start to be human beings, what God wanted when he created Adam, the first man. According to this, now we can understand now in our time. Is that right? Is this right? 1 second. Yeah, okay, I think so, huh? Let me just have a minute over here. So we can learn from all this now, and especially in our time. Right now, we are immediately, in any second now, is the redemption is supposed to come, the complete redemption. Now, again, the Rebbe is saying Mashiach is already here. He's already here, but Mashiach has a goal. And the goal is to bring the Holy Temple and to gather all the Jewish people together. I mean, before that, to teach all the Jewish people Torah, to make all the Jewish people aware of their identity, that they're Jews. Said the Rebbe, that's basically been done. Okay, it doesn't seem to me that there's been, but the Rebbe says it's been done. So, okay, next is to bring the Holy Temple, and that can happen in 1 minute. It says the Holy Temple is going to appear from heaven. It's not going to be a process of Mikdash Hashem Konan Yadecha. And within, 24 minutes from right now, the Mashiach can be, the Holy Temple could be ready for work. The Rebbe brings a proof from the Torah. And when the Holy Temple is here, and the Jewish people know what a Jew is, and the essence of a Jew is to do the commandments, all the Jews will flock to Israel to do the commandments. They won't come to Israel to flee the mayor of New York or something. They'll come for only positive reasons. That's the only thing that's going to bring them. Well, it says the Mashiach can come. It'll take a minute. The whole thing will just be changed. It's like waking up from a terrible dream. And the same thing it says that's the idea of giving the Torah. Just like it was back then when we received the Torah, the Jewish people have this tremendous awe of God. Also the same thing now. We learn this every single generation and every single time and every single place, that the Jewish people have the power, all to bring about the whole topic of what they heard at Mount Sinai. When we learn the Torah right now, it is God speaking through our mouths. That is a revelation of God in the world. We don't see the world changing drastically because of it, just like on Mount Sinai. But, take a look what happened in Mount Sinai, right? Like we say, today, the world was basically not really changed that much sufficiently by the Torah, that people remained faithful to what it's impressed by the godliness of the Torah. People just lived their own lives and that's all. But now when we say the words of Torah, it makes an effect on the world. It makes an effect on the world. And true, the effect is a very subtle one, but that's not, you don't need that much more. But Diu Kafishu, just like it was in Mount Sinai the first time, it makes an effect on the whole world. And now it's a little bit different because the world has already tried all these other options of bringing peace and bringing prosperity and bringing health to the world, right? There's been Marx and Freud and all these other nuts have come along and tried to cure the world, and we're going to make a new world and a better world, and Napoleon comes along, we're going to make a friendly world and a happy world, and it's all miserable, terrible failures. And so we got into this whole quagmire, this kettle of fish that we've got into now, right? The power to do this we receive from the fact that there was in the Torah, it relates about the first 10 commandments given by God, and the second commandments, the second 10 commandments, which were given by Moses. Like we said before, uniting the essence of God with the world. Al Derech said also the same thing when we learn the Torah. Al Derech says similarly, it repeats constantly, every day, every moment. Like it's known that the whole idea of the giving of the Torah is not just that God gave the Torah, he is giving the Torah now. That's why when you're called up to the Torah, you make a blessing. Baruch atah Hashem, notein Torah, God, you give the Torah, present tense. Al Derech says similarly, there also is in every generation has a Moses. And this Moses, he gave the Torah, and he's giving the Torah to all the people. And the main thing of Moses is not just giving the Torah, but also inspiring the Jewish people to learn the Torah in a proper way, with surrender to the author of the Torah. Moving, so with this understood, Shebakol Dor Vador, in every generation, at every time, it repeats itself over, and even in a higher way. Why? Because there's a general principle, Malim Bakodesh, when you do something good, it's eternal. Good things that people do are there eternally. They never go away. That's the idea of heaven. But heaven is right here. We just don't see it. When a person does something good, then that remains permanently. Death does not dissolve it. That's why after death, a person sees all these good things that he did. But really, they're here right now. So when all the good deeds from all the previous generations, that accumulates. It remains forever. And that that's the joining of the first 10 commandments that God gave, and the last 10 commandments, which Moses repeated. And this gives us the power, because those things remain always. That gives us the power that right now, when we learn the Torah, it also has the ability to make the change in the world, just on the condition that we remember that it's God's Torah. It's not just a Jewish book or a religious book. How much more so in our generation, that we see clearly that the Moses of our generation, who was the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, who is the leader of our generation, he is connected to the revelation of and the joining of the number 10, which is the world, the 10 utterances, with the number 11. He passed away on the 10th day, and his successor took over on the 11th, until the number 10, until what's called the 11th day of the 11th month. That's when the Rebbe took over. So this indicates even more the connection of Afkan also here is just like when the Torah was given back then. What happened when the Torah was given? That God himself revealed himself in the 10 commandments. That's the number 11. The same thing is now, that the fact that the Rebbe passed away on the number 10 and gave over the leadership on the next year on the day 11 is showing the same spiritual thing that's supposed to happen any second. It's not a novelty. It's not just, mythology or something. This is talking about the way things have to be. It's going to be this way. Reality. Bahadgasha Yatira, and even more, Mikivan since to the. I remember when I was in university, there was this big thing about the trilogy, the Lord of the Rings, whatever was the Lord of the Rings. And he made up his own language and this whole thing. And people really, really got into it. I mean, they were really, and I totally was not. I have to admit, I was not into it at all. I didn't understand. I never really enjoyed, science fiction or fiction or whatever this stuff, whatever it's called. But people like really into it. And they even had a language of his own. He made up his own language, and people were like really into it. So, things happened and you wanted to see what was going to happen. So some people look at the Torah in the same way, the Havdalah, in the same way. It's an idea, it's a religious idea, and this is the way, things someday my prince will come. But the Rebbe is trying to convince us that this is not so. This is what real reality is. There is no other reality. This is real, absolute, true reality. God is creating us. We are creations of God. Maybe you have to use your imagination in order to go out of your normal state and at least put yourself into the picture of what's going on. But the picture that the Rebbe is trying to paint is reality. We're supposed to feel this reality, not the Rebbe's reality, our reality. So therefore, our generation is the last generation of exile. Our generation is the last generation of false reality. And this is the first generation of true reality, when we'll see what man really is, what love really is, what meaning is. And especially in the most recent times, Dvar, like we said many times, said the Rebbe that we have completed everything. And now all we have to do is just bring the redemption, Agile de Bechinas Asiri, namely revealing the number 10, the 10 aspects of God, the 10. And it says that's what, up to now, there have been 9 songs written in the Torah. The song of Dvar and the song of what we read this week and last week in the song. And the Moshiach is going to come and make the 10th song together with the revelation of the number 11, the godliness which is in it, Antu Chad, God, you are one, but not a numerical one. And there's the godliness of the 10 commandments doesn't add another commandment, it just adds another aspect, but it's called 11. Giloy al-Atzmuto, that's the revelation of God's essence in the world. And that's the whole idea of the future redemption by means of Mashiach. Hakashur, which is attached to the Moses. Like Moses says, he's the first redeemer, and Mashiach will be the last redeemer. And especially according to what we said before, that the first letters of the word that Mashiach is supposed to come immediately. Immediately is miyad. The initials of miyad are Moshe, Yud Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, and David. Namely, the first generation was Moses giving the Torah. That's Moses. And that is attached to the last generation, which that's the future redemption by means of King David. How is that going to be? King David, Rambam says, Maimonides says that King David was the first Mashiach, and that we're waiting for Mashiach ben David, and that is going to be revealed by means of Chassidut. The teachings of Chassidut of the rabbis and those who took their place, Asher lekeshiafutza ma'anatecha chutza, when his well springs are spread out, Atimar, the Mashiach will come. Malchut Mashiach. So King Moses, he revealed the first 10 commandments. I'm sorry, at Mount Sinai, he revealed the first 10 commandments at Mount Sinai with God. Moses revealed the second 10 commandments when he spoke to the Jewish people right before they went into the land of Israel. Before the land went into the land of Israel. King David was the one who will manifest this. That's the Melech HaMashiach. He was the first king of Israel. Mashiach will also be a king. And what will put the glue between all this together is the Baal Shem Tov, the teachings, Chassidut. Chassidut, which teaches us about what real reality is, how much God cares about the physical world. We can say, that connection to the whole idea of the word miyad, Mashiach should come immediately, that the initials are, we just said, Moses, Yisrael, Baal Shem Tov, and King David. But there's also others. This also connects to the 3 different times. Moses in his generation, Yisrael, Baal Shem Tov, that's our generation, and King David is the Melech Mashiach in his generation. But also both Kulan, all of them can come together, miyad, immediately. Every single generation, all 3 must be revealed. And that's also hinted at. Miyad is also Moshe, Yoshua, Daram. It says that Moses was, in every generation there is a Moses in his generation. Moses was, of course, Moses. Joshua was the one who took the Jewish people into Israel. He was in his generation. It says even more, Mordechai in the time of Purim, we're going to come to, is also in their generation. So Moshe, Yoshua, and Doram in their generation, Miyad. All of them will be together in one generation. We can even say more, regarding our generation now, the three letters Miyad, Mem, Yud, Dalid, they stand for more recent people that comes. Now we're a generation that all three was the generation of Mem is Moshiach. That's who is the Moshiach? Moshiach, first of all, the Moshiach, that's Mem, Moshiach. Yosef Yitzchak, that's the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Doram, in their generation, that the Moshiach and the previous Rebbe, that is also all together in one generation. Yachad, together with Moshe in his generation. And who is the Moses of our generation? Is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe always said that he's just a continuation of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He's the third period in the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's life. That's what Rebbe said about himself. And this all rolls up together in the number 10, the 10th day of Shvat. That's when the previous Rebbe passed away. And this also includes in it the revelation of the Chassidut, which that's the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. That's the Yud. By means of him, there's also the revelation of the 11, number 11. That's the godliness in the Torah. That's the whole purpose of Chassidut, is to talk about the godliness in the Torah. That's the first Redeemer and the last Redeemer. That's King David. Also, we can also say that these three letters also is similar to the three topics we talked about before in the first generation. The Torah was given by means of God. That's the concealment on the inside of the Torah. And that began with the Torah by Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. That's the Yud. And that's the Yud is also, the Yud is the Divrot Achronot. That's the last, I'm sorry. The first 10 commandments, that's by means of God. The secret, the inside of those 10 commandments, that was begun by the Baal Shem Tov to bring that to everyone. And those are the 10 commandments, the second 10 commandments by means of Moses. What joined between them? What joins between them? Namely, the 10 commandments the Jewish people heard on Mount Sinai, and the 10 commandments as they are manifested in the world, as they will be complete in the new Torah, which will be brought by means of Mashiach, which basically that's Chassidut that we're learning now. That's the number 11. That's the one which rides on top of the 10. That's the Achar Yom Michorev. That's what it says, that the 11 journeys from Chorev. Chorev is Mount Sinai. And this is above. That comes from the essence of God and the true redemption by means of the Mashiach. Okay, so the Rebbe is trying to tell us over here that the Torah is not just for religious Jews. And the Torah is not only for the Jews. And the Torah is not only for human beings. The Torah is going to affect the whole entire world. Animal, plant, mineral, everything is going to be affected by the Torah, because the Torah is the revelation of the Creator. But this has to be done by means of people. There has to be a person who's leading the generation in the proper direction. Just like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt and led them through the desert to the land of Israel. And afterwards was Joshua. And then afterwards came King David. And then after the Baal Shem Tov. And the Rebbe's afterwards, that we're saying, the Rebbe is saying that the previous Rebbe, he was the Mashiach. He's the one that's leading us properly. What can we learn from this that we should actually do? Men, women, and children. What should we learn? Now we are in Shabbat, Parshat Yitro. And in Parshat Yitro, we are reading the Torah about the Shabbat. We'll read about giving of the Torah. And now we are coming from the 10th day of Shvat. And we are preparing ourselves for the 22nd day of Shvat. That's the day the previous Rebbe's daughter, our Rebbe's wife, passed away. So to speak, when the Rebbe passed away, the previous Rebbe passed away, so the Rebbe took over that sort of, how do you say, put the power of the previous Rebbe into him. And when the previous Rebbe's daughter, namely our Rebbe's wife, passed away. So the Rebbe was now independent. He had the power of all of them together. So 22, the number 22, this is 2 times 11. This double 2 times 11 means double the power of godliness, which is in the 10 commandments and in the 10 utterances that God creates the world with. So every single Jew has to take a teaching from what it says, the sentence right before the 10 commandments, V'yedaber Elokim, that God spoke all of these words to say. And when God gave the 10 commandments, it was given in second person singular. I am, it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God, your God. Second person, God is speaking directly to each and every Jew that was there. Leshen Nochach. Nochach means second person. And Yechid, second person singular. I am God, your God. Elokecha, not Elokechem. I took you out of Egypt in order to learn that this is a commandment and a teaching to every single Jew individually for all generations, just like it was in the giving of the Torah, when every single individual was given the Torah, that together with this, that it was the giving of the Torah only happened once. It's never going to happen again. Yesh Lakach, there is also a tremendous influence and a continuation in all times. True, it only happened once, but what did happen? God, who is infinite, revealed himself in the world. So infinite means it never stops. Maybe it stopped being revealed in such a powerful way in the world, but the revelation never stopped. Therefore, when we read the Torah, we are partaking of this revelation. So therefore, just as back then, when we received the Torah, it was with trembling and with awe, so it should be also when we learn the Torah, we have to learn to appreciate what we've got. Kamokin, similarly, it also has to be now. When we read this Torah portion in the Torah, of God giving the Torah, that we can learn from it and to take resolutions, good resolutions, regarding action in all of the days and the weeks and the months which come afterwards. And especially the Kesher Minyan, especially regarding what we said, the number 10, which is creation, or the Torah, and the 11, which is the godliness in the creation and the godliness of the Torah. Just like at the giving of the Torah. Kashem Shabbat Matan Torah. Yechnisu Kol Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, all the Jewish people were all together. Like it says, the Jewish people reached Mount Sinai and he camped under the mountain. It says the Jewish people, he camped. It doesn't say they camped. Vayikan Shem Yisrael, it says that the Jewish people, he camped like one person with one heart. Kamokin, similarly, also, there has to be in our service of a Jew. Every single Jew, inshallah, the Knesset, has to gather together all of the 10 powers of his soul, all the aspects of your personality, and to make them one unit, one tzibur, one group, unify them all in order to serve God. Whether with your inner powers, your 3 intellect and your emotions, or whether with your surrounding powers, that's the number 11, your faith in God, your self-sacrifice for God, your willpower, your pleasure, with all of your heart, with all of your being, etc. So again, what the Rebbe is trying to tell us over here is these are things which are, accessible to every single Jew. This is not just for special people, or the Rebbe is talking about some sort of an ideal situation that's supposed to be. The Rebbe is talking about actual situation that's supposed to be right now. Right? It's not like saying that everyone you can achieve and be a genius like, who knows, like the Isaac Newton or something. Like you can be if you really try, and everybody knows you really can't do it. Even like the Tanya. What does the Tanya say? The Tanya, the book the Tanya, if you don't know what that is, you have to look it up at least. Tanya. It's written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. And it starts off, that every single Jew is given an oath to be a tzaddik. And the Rebbe explains that a tzaddik is a person that feels God and loves God and fears God and has total belief in God and trust in God every instant of their lives, every instant of their lives. And every Jew is given an oath to do this, every Jew. And then the rest of the Tanya explains that you're not going to live up to this. You're not going to be able to do it. It's just, but you have to try. If you don't try, then you'll never succeed in anything as far as Judaism goes. But you have to, nevertheless, you're not going to make it. But when Mashiach comes, everybody will make it. Why? Because that's everyone's true nature. And that's what we're working for. To be a tzaddik. Every single Jew should feel the truth all the time. And that's what these words are. These words are not just telling you an ideal thing that you should strive for. It's telling you an actual fact that that's what a healthy person is supposed to be. Maybe you have to be encouraged in order to do this. Maybe you have to leave your, how do you say, present negativity in order to realize who you really are. But this is who we really are. This is the natural state of every single Jew. That he appreciates the words of the Torah and he appreciates every human being and he appreciates all the commandments and he's happy to do the commandments. It's just should be the most natural thing in the world. So first of all, we have to add on learning Torah. And when we learn Torah, it has to be with, like it says, awe and with fear and with appreciation of the Torah. You have to know that when you are learning the Torah, behold, this is Be'etem, according to the 10 powers of your soul. And also you should know that this is the word of God really that you are saying. Now, again, this is only for Jews. Only Jews, non-Jews, they can read the words of the Torah, but God decided this. I'm not, I agree this is chauvinism and this doesn't seem right. But I didn't write the world. I didn't write the Torah. I didn't create the world. This is the way God created the world. And not only that, this is not a special gift for the Jewish people. It's a special gift to the Jewish people, but it's for the whole world. When the Jewish people learn the Torah, so they become public servants. Like the president of the United States or a mayor or a governor or something, they're the highest of all, but they're public servants. In a way, they're the lowest of everybody. They have to deal and be sensitive to the needs of every single human being. In a way, they have no personal life of their own. They become, how do you say, accessories to God, just like God is creating everyone, he's providing for everyone. So the Jewish people have to make sure that everything is running properly. And they have to be participants in making everything run properly by learning the Torah and doing the commandments. Because we have to remember, at Mount Sinai was revealed the creator of the world, the creator of the universe. It wasn't just the God of the Jews. It was the creator of all being. That's the God of the Jews. But and even more, that every person will accept on himself to also to have an influence on others. At least another 10 Jews, calling in everything of Torah and the commandments, and they should have an effect on them with all of your 10 aspects of your soul. They should try to have a good effect on everybody And that doesn't mean you have to be a talented speaker or a charismatic, whatever it is, a singer or whatever it is, or to be handsome or to be wealthy or to be, popular or anything. You just be the most simple person in the world, and you just listen. You don't even have to say anything. You can just listen to people talk. Some people have no one to talk to. Sometimes people just want to have someone to say a good word to. That could have a tremendously beneficial effect, more than someone who stands up on a podium and speaks to the masses on television and he has like a 50 million likes or something like that. It could be that all those people, they like you, but they still remain who they are. And one person you made a genuine impression on that it's worthwhile. I think I told this story a lot of times, but I'm going to tell this story again. Professor Viktor Frankl, who I've read, at least I think, all of his books that he wrote in English. Wonderful, just wonderful. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said that all the other psychiatrists, they looked in the human soul and all they found was dirt and negativity, and he found diamonds, Viktor Frankl. So he tells a story Amazing, amazing story. That's once a lady called him up. He was the head of a big, huge hospital, a hospital in Vienna, and they had hundreds of doctors under him, and it was like basically a psychiatric hospital. And some lady called him up. He would work until 2 in the morning, and he had to be there at like 6 in the morning. So the time he could sleep was very precious. Some lady called him up in the middle of the night, and she said, and he answered the phone. He was all groggy, and she said that she wanted to commit suicide, and that she had it all ready to commit suicide, but someone suggested that she call him up before she did, that maybe he could convince her not to. He was a big expert in preventing suicide. Amazing success he had. So he listened to her for about 15 minutes, and he said, "Listen, lady, I want to tell you something. I'm really tired. I want to talk. I really want to listen to you. I want to hear what you have to say. I am a doctor in a big clinic. If you come in the morning to this clinic," he told her where the street is, "and tell her that, and tell him my name. My name is Professor Frankel, and I promise I'll let you in. I'll stop whatever I'm doing and I'll listen to you. But I'm just so tired now that I just don't know if I'm able to listen to you properly, and if I can give you advice, please." So the lady said, okay, she can commit suicide in another day. She doesn't have to commit. So she came in the morning to his office, and she said, "I'm not going to commit suicide. I decided not to." So he said to her, "Ma'am, I was so tired last night. Did I say something that convinced you? What did I say?" She said, "You didn't say anything. You said a few things, but they just didn't make any sense. But I said to myself, listen, if I live in a world where a big professor in the middle of the night is willing to take 20 minutes to listen to some crazy lady, so it must be that the world is not such a bad place. And I decided I'm going to live in it." So sometimes just by being nice and listening to some people you don't know, the benefit it can have. That's what it is. Everybody has to do according to their ability and whatever is to try to convince another person that it's worthwhile to live in the world, and that the Torah will make it even more worthwhile. This is a teaching to everyone in Israel, men, women, children. This includes, and especially to begin from those people who are found right here. The Rebbe is speaking in 1992 in the synagogue. This is a speech that he gave on Shabbat. And there were people that sat there and they remembered everything the Rebbe said. They would go over it. This place of doing good deeds, small temple. This is the Beit Rabbeinu Shebabavel said that 770. This is what's called the Holy Temple outside of Israel. It's a Talmud. You can look at it, see what tool in Megillah. You can look over in Megillah. There's English copies. Page 29. It says that in the time when the Holy Temple is destroyed, that there's a Holy Temple in Babylon, and that moves from place to place where the most Jews are. And the Rebbe said that that's 770. That's 770 is the parkway. Is Beit Rabbeinu Shebabavel. That this is the Beit. That this is a holy temple, Beit Chayinu. This is a house of life for all the Jewish people who are found here, and all of the Jewish people in this whole entire generation. That the Nasi, the leader of the generation, he is everything, and from it is drawn down life, and life is drawn down, blessing and life to all of the Jewish people in all of the corners of the world. So if you wonder why it is that the Jews are always in the news, and why all of a sudden people hate the Jews and talk about the Jews and the Jews and the Jews, and there's only a few million Jews in the world, right? A few million Jews in the world. And now they got this, Islam is rising up, and there's billions of them, there's hundreds of millions at least, Someone said that how many could be their what is it, militant Muslims in the world? How many could there be? Maybe 5%. Says okay, 5%. But if there is 1.5 billion Arabs, Muslims in the world, 1.5 billion. So 5% is like a few hundred million. So that's 1% would be what I'm sorry, maybe I made a mistake. That's right. Yeah, 1% would be 1.5 million. 100 million, 150 million. It will be 150 million, right? Is that right? Anyway, let's say bare minimum, you have 1 million terrorists in the world that want to blow themselves up and kill the world, and nobody talks about them. It's not even mentioned. And the Jews, they got one Jew that they found that he was a crooked guy, and he lied, he cheated, he did something. They don't even have to do anything. Why? So we see that this unbalanced importance of the Jews is not so unbalanced. It's a fact. The fact is the Jews, they have the ability to bring blessing and meaning to the whole world. And if they don't do it, so we can point the finger at them. They have to, and that's what the Rebbe is doing. The Rebbe is pointing a finger at the Jews, not a finger of accusation, but a finger of, being chosen, of responsibility. You are picked on. Well, I remember when I used to be in school. Remember this? I remember the teacher said, okay, who wants to go to the office and bring me, an eraser? Oh, all the kids, everyone wants to be chosen. Okay, maybe they wanted to be chosen just to get out of class, but I don't think so. They wanted to be chosen because they wanted responsibility. Choose me. Well, God chose the Jews. And now we have responsibility. And therefore, says the Rebbe, that every place that the Jews are gathered, especially in this synagogue, where this is a place of learning Torah and a place of prayer and a place of doing good deeds, and that that's a place of life, Beit Chayenu, that this should have an effect on all of the entire world. By means of this, that the Jewish people are the Jewish people that are found here, that they show an example, a living example, how they should act according to the teachings of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he's the leader of our generation. So by means of this is drawn an effect and a life from this place. And especially that we are, this was in the time when they were enlarging 770. How much is relevant to this world? The Jewish people have an effect on the Jewish people everywhere in the world. Now, it's an amazing thing that it says over there in that Gemara in Megillah that all of the synagogues in the world are going to fly to Israel. That's going to calm down a lot of opposition, right? Huge, massive buildings all over the place. I was in America. The Satmar over here is this beautiful over there, and here in Israel also. But that Satmar, and they have this beautiful, huge synagogue in a place. That place is going to fly through the whole air. And that's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. That it's going to. All of the Jews in the world are going to all gather together into the land of Israel. They'll all wake up, including the whole entire world will wake up to how lucky they are, how much God loves them. Everyone in the world is being created by, and this is the main thing, that immediately now will come the total redemption, actually. And this holy temple, Beis HaKnesset, this synagogue where we are, in this place of learning, and the place of doing good deeds, together with all of the synagogues and all the places in the world learning Torah in the world, will all fly together with all of the Jewish people and with our youth, our elders, our sons, our daughters, to the land of Israel, to Jerusalem, the holy land, and to the holy city, and to the holy mountain, and to the holy temple, and to the Holy of Holies, will be revealed everywhere immediately now, with all of the explanations in this, all the different meanings and all the commentaries, immediately, the simply meaning that what it'll happen now, really, actually, that the world will be a good, healthy world.